Hello everyone, Yubel Master here, aka 38 the Master One, bringing you another video for the Yubel community because we need to talk about these Fiendsmith cards. When I first saw them, I was like, oh hey, Fiend archetype, maybe this could have some synergy with Yubel. So I read them with excited curiosity, and basically, to sum up what they do, they are a light Fiend archetype that uses link monsters, which can also be used as equip cards, and then they make some fusion monsters to set up interruptions or deal damage while using those link monsters as equip cards. The cards don't actually lock your summoning options in any way, except for one of the spells which says you cannot declare attacks for the rest of the turn except with fiend monsters. However, when I was reading them, I realized that all of the extra deck monsters require light fiends to make, which means that we can't use the Yubel cards themselves to make them, since they're all dark fiends. This is why people have been talking about using them with magical musketeers, most commonly, and some people even using some fabled cards as well, but not as many people are talking about using them with Yubel. So I did come to the same conclusion myself, and I kind of dismissed the Fiendsmith cards as maybe just a fun idea for a Yubel hybrid deck, since they're still fiend monsters, so they can probably still be used together. But other than that, I thought they didn't have enough synergy to be a core part of the Yubel deck, the same way that the Dark Beckoning Beast engine and the Unchained cards are right now. But then, a few days later, a friend sent me this Twitter video, and it completely changed my opinion. Okay, so what you just saw was a 1-card combo into 5 interruptions, utilizing the Fiendsmith cards as well. So for the end board, we have a monster negate in the form of Phantom of Yubel, which is a new fusion monster that Japan is getting in some kind of book promo. Do check out my video on that if you don't know what it does. We also have 2 negates of any card that summons monsters through card effect in the form of DDD Wave Hiking Caesar, which was actually made using the Fiendsmith cards, by the way. And we also have a set Escape of the Unchained to pop our Yama that we have on field, as well as 1 card our opponent controls. And we also have Technolog Valdorath for our Omni negates, which if you don't know what that does, do check out my video on that as well. And all of this, these 5 interrupts, are from just a single field spell, Nightmare Throne, which we're getting in Legacy of Destruction. So all of these new cards that we're getting in the next 2 core sets are really going to take Yubel to completely new heights that we've never seen before. So, to break down exactly what happened to get to this end board, the key card which bridged the Yubel combo into the Fiendsmith engine was a generic extra deck link monster. This means that you don't actually have to draw any of the Fiendsmith cards to actually use them in a Yubel deck, which I didn't think was possible before actually seeing this Twitter video. So, the card in question is a generic link to light fiend monster called Moon of the Closed Sky. This is an OCG card that came out in a V-Jump promo, and it's kind of like a mini version of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. All it requires is just 2 effect monsters, and the effect itself isn't important, but the key thing is the type and the attribute, because the Fiendsmith Link 1, all it requires is any light fiend monster, which means that we can use this Link 2 to go into the Link 1, and then from the Link 1 we can tribute it and then go into the Fiendsmith combo. Okay, so some of you might still be confused, but that's okay because the combo video was quite fast. So how about we first go over the effects of the relevant Fiendsmith cards that were used in that combo, so that we can really understand what actually happened. So there are 8 cards in total for the debut of this archetype in the core set after Legacy of Destruction, which is the Infinite Forbidden. So it's going to be a while till we get this in the TCG, but let's start by covering the Link 1, since it was the first card to appear in the combo video. It's called Fiendsmith Requiem, and interesting fact about the Japanese name, based on the kanji, it should technically be read as Kizamarishima no Chinkonkan, which translates to Carved Demons Requiem Coffin. But since they've used some katakana above it to change the reading to Fiendsmith Requiem instead, so technically that's how it should be read instead of the normal way of reading the kanji. So anyway, it's a Link 1 that requires any Light Fiend monster, and the effect reads you can only special summon this card once per turn, and you can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn as well. The first effect is during the main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card, special summon 1 Fiendsmith monster from your hand or deck. And the second effect is you can target 1 non-link Light Fiend monster you control, equip this card from your field or graveyard to that target as an equip spell that gives it 600 attack. So yeah, those are 2 pretty simple effects. You just tribute itself to summon a Fiendsmith monster from the hand or deck, and you can bridge into it using any Light Fiend monster at all, since it's a Link 1, which is just broken in my opinion. And the thing that we'll be summoning with this is actually the only main deck monster that we have for the archetype, which is interesting how there is only one main deck monster, but let's go and read that card next, shall we? It's called Ma no Kizamu Demonsmithu in Japanese. Ma wo Kizamu means carver of demons, and Demonsmithu is just like this guy's name, right? So since for most of the other cards, they're using Demonsmithu as an alternate way of reading the Japanese kanji for carved demon, the name of this card is technically Demon Smith, the Smither of Demons, or something silly like that, because the English doesn't actually have a way of indicating multiple readings for the same spelling, like the Japanese does. So I guess just the Fiendsmith is the best way of translating it without it sounding kind of weird in English. Anyway, it's a level 6 Light Fiend effect monster with 1800 attack and 2400 defense. You can only use the first, second, and third of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is you can discard this card, add 1 Fiendsmith spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. The second effect is you can target 1 Fiendsmith equip card you control and 1 monster on the field, send them to the graveyard. So we have some removal here as well, but this is only while it's on the field. And the third effect is if this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle 1 other Light Fiend monster from your graveyard into the deck or extra deck, special summon this card. So yeah, if this is in your hand, you can just discard it, add a spell or trap, and then midway through the combo, you can special summon it from the graveyard as an extra body as well. So this is a pretty good card. And notably, it is level 6, which is important for the combo, but we'll get onto that later. First of all, let's actually cover the spells and traps that this guy can search. So there are 3 of them, 2 spells and 1 trap. We aren't going to cover the trap in detail, since we're probably not going to use it in our deck, but the interruption it provides isn't too bad, so it might be something to consider. One of the spells summons a Light Fiend token, but this is the card that makes it so that we can't attack except with Fiend monsters. But the best spell and trap card that we can search is this one, and it's called Fiendsmith Tractus. So as you've probably noticed by now, all of these cards have some kind of cool, edgy double meaning within all their names, it seems, which I think is pretty cool. And the YGOrg article does a decent job of explaining these things, as you can see from the translation notes under the effects. So anyway, it's a normal spell, and you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. So you can use both of the effects in the same turn if you want to. The first effect is add 1 Light Fiend monster from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card. So this is just literally a generic searcher for any Light Fiend, which is pretty cool. And the second effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard, fusion summon 1 Fiendsmith fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. So this is not only a searcher but also a fusion card. So yeah, 2 for 1, this card is really amazing. And since the search is generic enough, you can actually use this with some of the fabled monsters as well, because since you'd have to discard a card afterwards, you can actually trigger the Fabled discard effects, which opens up a lot of potential. And obviously after that, you can also use those Fabled monsters as fusion material by banishing the spell after it's used. And speaking of fusion summons, the other way we can fusion summon in this archetype is by using the effect of the Link 2 monster. And the Link 2 monster is called Fiendsmith Sequentia, which is another Latin word. So this card is a Link 2 Light Fiend effect monster with 1200 attack, with arrows pointing bottom left and bottom right. It requires 2 monsters including a Light Fiend monster, which means that we can use one of our Yubel cards as long as the other material is a Light Fiend monster. So you can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is during your main phase, you can fusion summon 1 Fiend fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling materials mentioned on it from your graveyard into the deck. So before you get excited, do remember that our Yubel fusion does require the effect monsters to be on the field for the fusion material. So you can't just fuse your entire graveyard and burn your opponent for a crazy amount. Don't get excited. This does say that you can fusion summon any Fiend fusion monster, so there could be some potential for some other Fiend fusions, maybe. Anyway, the second effect is you can target 1 non-link Light Fiend monster you control, equip this card from your field or graveyard to that target as an equipped spell with this effect. Your opponent cannot target the equipped monster with card effects. So now we can start to see that gameplay theme of making links, then making fusions, and then equipping the link monsters to the fusion monsters. It's almost as if he's powering up by equipping weapons made from the demons that he slayed. Yeah, this archetype is definitely inspired by the Devil May Cry games, and we love to see it. Anyway, let's actually cover the 2 fusion monsters in this archetype. The first one is Fiendsmith Lacrimosa, another Latin word. It's a level 6 Light Fiend fusion effect monster, and since this is level 6 and also the main deck monster is a level 6, I guess you can all see by now that using these 2 cards we can easily make a DDD Wave Hiking Caesar, which is exactly what happened in the combo video that we just saw. So it has 2400 attack and defense. It requires any 2 Light Fiend monsters. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is, if this card is fusion summoned, you can target 1 Light Fiend monster in your graveyard or banishment, either add it to your hand or special summon it. So basically, as soon as you summon this, if you have the main deck monster in your graveyard, you have those 2 level 6s to already go into the DD Wave Hiking Caesar, which is really, really useful. So the second effect is a continuous effect of monsters your opponent controls lose 600 attack. Cool bonus effect, I guess. The third effect is if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle 1 other Light Fiend monster from your graveyard into the deck or extra deck, inflict 1200 damage to your opponent. So this fusion monster and the other fusion monster have effects if they're sent to the graveyard. And this effect is pretty useful because our Yubel deck can do a lot of burn damage, and with this on top, you can probably figure out some pretty easy OTKs, as if it wasn't already easy enough to OTK with Yubel. But hey, this can probably be used in time situations a lot easier. So there is one more fusion monster to show, which is the most powerful one. But before we do check that out, let's actually go over the combo video one more time, since now we've actually read all of the key cards involved for that combo to work. So yeah, now we all understand how we can use the Fiendsmith cards to improve the end board for our Yubel combos. And remember, this was just with 1 card, so we really are just scratching the surface of the potential that a max power Yubel deck can actually have. With this knowledge, I hope that everyone out there in the Yubel community can cook up some real nasty combos.
Yeah, boy.
And I can't wait to discover them. But anyway, there is one more Fiendsmith card that we haven't covered yet. So let's finally read this last fusion monster, because this one is the big boss monster that we're supposed to finish on at the end of a standard Fiendsmith combo. It's called Fiendsmith Irae, and check out this artwork. Like, wow. I mean, earlier I did say that the artwork and the themes seem to be inspired by Devil May Cry, but this particular guy, he's giving off like Chainsaw Man vibes, which is also super cool because I'm into both. So yeah, really loving the artwork. Anyway, this is a level 9 Light Fiend fusion effect monster with 2800 attack and 2400 defense. It requires the Fiendsmith, which is the main deck monster, and 2 Light Fiend monsters. You can only use this card name's first and second effects once per turn, each. The first effect is a quick effect, so we have some interruption here. And it's to negate the effects of a number of face-up cards on the field until the end of this turn, up to the total link ratings of the link monsters equipped to this card as equip cards. So this can negate any card on the field, including spells and traps that are activated. And if you're using the link 2, along with the link 1 as equip cards, then that means you have a total link rating of 3. So this can negate up to 3 cards on the field, which is really, really good. However, I think most of the time you're probably going to be just negating an important spell or trap, or maybe a monster that's summoned. But anyway, the second effect is the graveyard effect. So if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle one other Light Fiend monster from your graveyard into the deck or extra deck, then target one card on the field, send it to the graveyard. So we have even more interruption if this card is sent to the graveyard on your opponent's turn, which is absolutely incredible. This is definitely worthy of being a boss monster. And although it does require 3 monsters in total, I think that the way the fusion effects work in this archetype, I think it's pretty easy to get out. So yeah, going back to the 1-card combo, it didn't actually have enough resources to get out this level 9 fusion. However, we can actually end on this card, along with everything else you saw in the 1-card combo, as long as we have the Yubel field spell, which was in the 1-card combo, with at least 1 Fiendsmith card, and also 1 card to be used as a discard fodder. So this will be a 2.5 card combo, and Guy on Twitter has also made a video for this. So let's check it out.
Keepin it stylish. All right. Jackpot.
Incredible, right? I mean, I knew these Fiendsmith cards were good when I first read them, but I didn't realize how easy it was to just slide them into a Yubel deck. Like, these combos didn't even make use of the Super Poly or Eternal Favorite cards, so there's even more potential if you open some of the Sacred Beast engine to get more bodies on board and give you more flexibility to search those Super Poly cards and stuff. After seeing this, I genuinely think that we might start to see the Yubel cards evolve as more of an engine rather than a deck, since there are just so many good Fiend engines out there right now, with the Unchained cards, Dark Beckoning Beast, and now with the Fiendsmiths. So this could actually be the dawn of a good stuff pile of Fiend Link monsters, using only the best engines that will of course include our Yubel cards. And maybe we have to start calling it a Fiend Link deck instead of calling it a Yubel deck. But as for my opinions on whether these cards are a must include or not, well, I haven't really gotten around to fully testing every single combo line and every single ratio, but I do think that they should be included as a mini engine in our main build for a Yubel deck, because these cards just giving us easy access to DDD Wave Hiking Caesar in what looks like most of the Yubel combo lines that we do anyway is definitely nothing to scoff at. Especially since most of the cards you need for these combos come from the extra deck itself anyway. So yeah, maybe just one of the main deck monster and that spell that searches Light Fiends is probably all that we need for main deck commitment. But if we do want to put more of the Fiendsmith cards for the engine, we probably have to start cutting some of the Yubel cards. And I think it's possible to cut cards like Mature Chronicle, Super Polarization, Eternal Favor, and maybe Geist Grinder Golem. But the thing is, a part of me doesn't want to cut them because the deck would lose that anime vibe and identity that it currently has. I mean, right now, I just love activating Mature Chronicle, doing a combo, and then searching Super Poly. It's overdated.
Add Super Poly.
Add Super Poly.
Sure.
It just feels so powerful, and it feels like you're recreating the duel in the anime. I mean, that's just me. If you feel like cutting those cards, adding more of the Fiendsmith stuff, then you can be my guest. But we will have to see with more testing if the pure Yubel deck or the Fiend Link version of the Yubel deck is better. But I do think a minimal engine should at least be included in the pure Yubel deck anyway, since it's such a small commitment. So, what do you guys think of the Fiendsmith cards? Do you want to include them into your deck? Have you thought of any other combo lines that are more optimal or something that no one else has thought of? Do let me know in the comments down below. This really is just the beginning for us Yubel players, and I'm so excited to see how far this deck can go this year. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel before you leave, and check out my other videos for more Yubel related content. But with that, I'll thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.